Well, hello everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on the effective use of academic and social media networks for endorsing publications. My name's Fiona Murphy and I'm very happy to be speaking to you today. Right, let's get on. So just so you're aware, if you want to ask a question, you should be able to see this little box here in your control tab. So you can put something in there, and then if there is time today, we will answer it during the meeting or during the webinar, but if not, then we'll follow up afterwards. And here's the outline of what we'll be covering today. We'll start off with looking at the significance of research promotion, why it's a good idea to do it. Go on to an overview of some traditional and also some trending ways of conducting research promotion, the importance then of having a social media strategy, give you some examples of some popular networking platforms, both academic and social media. And then we'll look at some other digital strategies you might think about engaging with, and then we'll take a look at the way to measure your impact, make sure that what you're doing is effective. So starting with the importance of research promotion, this is quite a good graph actually, I think, which shows that despite the fact that academic research and article numbers keep growing, they keep growing. You can see that even over the last 5 to 10 years, we're still seeing between 5 and 6.5% growth every year in the number of articles that are being published. So that's, I feel like, the primary method for disseminating scholarly communications. But given that there is so very much out there, you need to do what you can within the time constraints or other constraints that you're operating within to make sure that it's your work that stands out and gets in front of the right people. So yes, exactly. So why should researchers promote? It's just really important that that you are as visible as possible, so that the work that you do is seen, has more impact, hopefully will be cited more, will then be able to help you with building your own reputation, opportunities for collaborations, and also thereby for funding. So hopefully it's creating a virtuous circle. And as we alluded in the table of contents at the beginning of this, there are a couple of there's two main strands of ways to promote your research. We like the conventional ways, which include presenting at conferences, releasing press releases, and building sites, including to a certain amount self-sites. But then you can also build collaborations, practice open science, use networking sites, and also take on other digital strategies, which are some of the emerging and, if you like, more global, more digital ways to reach out and find new readers and other people to collaborate with. So thinking about how to basically develop a social media strategy. If you use social media platforms like LinkedIn, Orchid, ResearchGate, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or Mendeley, and they're a way of drawing attention to your work and enabling you to intersect with your research community. Can also help you to access up-to-date information in your field, but it does need effort by you, and you need to build a network and you need to maintain it as well. So it's important that you select the right channel, which might differ depending on your research field, where you are in the world, how much time you've got, if there's any expense, perhaps how much you like writing. And also, once picked, you also need to make sure that you update what it is that you've started. So thinking about why you might need this strategy. So first of all, as we just said, choose the right social media platforms and tools. And it might be you go and see perhaps the few of the people I want to reach, where are they? Would be a good question to start off with. And it's important to stay on topic and to potentially allocate times, particular slots of the week when you're engaging. It helps you to understand the pros and cons of social media usage. Again, it can be very helpful, and there are also a few pitfalls. It controls and manages your digital footprint. It means that if you've got a strategy, hopefully you'll stick to it and you won't just splurge out everywhere and perhaps risk just neglecting somebody or being sloppy in the way that you communicate, which obviously would be a very bad thing. Hopefully as well, it will provide some easy ways for you to reach your peers and your target audiences. Create some more impact for your research, and we'll have a look at that as well later, and also potentially boost your professional reputation by enabling you to have more interactions with your peers. So thinking about how to start, this perhaps is a good set of questions to ask yourself. So to start off with, what are the right social media platforms? Perhaps just pick one or two. Who is your target audience? And also, in some instances, such as with perhaps a working group's got a particular account, who's actually going to be running it? What are your objectives and goals? And what are you going to actually be sharing? How are you going to be doing it? How are you going to make it accessible? How are you going to engage your audience? And when you're going to be doing it, and how often? And as you'll be aware that there are some accounts which will push up the same thing, the same message a few times. It might be to engage with different time zones, say, or it might be using different hashtags. So as part of your editorial strategy, you should include a calendar, and you should plan about how you post. And it might be that you do it at regular intervals, or it might be when you could do it at particular points, such as when you've got a breakthrough, if you're featured at a conference, if you're presenting your research at a conference, something's been published, or it's reached another milestone in the publication route. If something's been fairly recently, perhaps you've got a podcast or something that explains your recent article. You can talk about the response that you've already had to your article. There could be a press release, or it could be that there's just a conversation that you started having in real life, and then you want to push out to the digital world and expand its impact and interest. So having said that, important to think before you post. Social media is really effective in attracting attention, but you also want to make sure that you attract the right attention. So if you set your priorities right and make sure that you don't take on more than you can manage in terms of time, that's really important. Everything else, after your research is your highest priority. This is going to be a nice to have or an add-on that's hopefully very helpful. As we said before, you should limit your time on social media. Make sure you don't spend too much time on it or go down too many rabbit holes. That's very easy to do. You should separate your professional and personal profiles, and that will help. Again with any potential problems in the way that you communicate with other people in your group, depending on which profile you're using. And it should also help with just keeping like family life private. Also thinking about confidentiality for any patients, so for medical research. Just all these things are just much better done with these separate accounts. Absolutely. There are also some potentially obviously issues about controversial subjects, and that can be again something that's difficult to manage online, particularly if something that goes out into the public sphere, and if you may be limited in the number of characters you can use and so the amount of nuance that can actually be used. Thinking particularly something like Twitter. Also, there can be a problem if you tweet something just before you get onto a plane, and then something kind of happens or blows up, and you're not able to then explain it or unravel it, and you can arrive somewhere else 8 hours later, and you've lost your job. Which I know of an instance of that happening in real life to a person who wasn't an academic, but if you like, that's a sort of a cautionary tale that I think we should all bear in mind. So thinking about some safe ways to share your research openly, you can also use the regular tools, if you like, that are increasingly available to researchers, such as open access, open data, using your institutions or a subject-specific digital repository. You can also use academic networking platforms and blogs and personal networks as well, personal websites, and we'll have a look at some of those as well. So some popular academic network platforms. ORCID is quite interesting. It's increasingly as well, if you like, an official part of the toolkit for a researcher these days, being a permanent digital identifier which links all your information around your publications, potential grants, honours and awards, peer reviewing activities, and also your work history. It will update even if you have a name change, or if you have perhaps people several iterations the way that your name is displayed. It might be with or without middle initials, that kind of thing. It helps distinguish you from anybody else that might have your name, and it moves with you when you change institutions as well. So it's got a lot of useful integrations with things like manuscript submission and peer review systems and scholarly collaboration networks as well. So it's a useful profile to have in any case. Google Scholar is very popular. It's very useful for if you like bridging that divide or that interstice between academic and the public, particularly a curious, educated public who wants to know more about your subject. So it's very popular. So adding your articles and publications will make your name more visible to the casual searcher. If you also set up your profile correctly, you can also get updated about new research in your field, and it will also provide you with some analytics as well. So if you can see with this Google profile snapshot, all you need to do is just get my own profile. You can look at other people, you can go to your own, you can see list of publications, list of analytics, and generally can move around using keywords and so forth. So yeah, just very useful. So thinking more specifically for researchers, you've also got Academic EDU and ResearchGate. They've both been described as the Facebook for academics. Do be careful when using them, because there can be multiple invitations to upload copies of your work, and sometimes that's not going to be contrary to the agreements that you might have signed when getting things published, particularly in journals. So it's something to just double check if there are specific versions of things which it's possible to upload. But again, you've got a variety of analytics opportunities to build networks, ask questions, and generally have discussion groups and so forth. So they're both quite useful. And a couple more are Science Open and My Science Work, which are both data sharing discovery platforms that you can promote your work on. And they also have a lot of the social networking features of these other systems such as ResearchGate and academia.edu. So again, it might be a good idea to have a look at several of these and then decide which one. Again, where is your own community most active? Perhaps which interfaces are the ones that are most congenial for you. There are a range of ways to just decide which one to go for. And also reference management tools, which I'm sure you're very much aware of. There's a range of them, and they help you again with promoting your own work, building your libraries, connecting, collaborating, and so forth. I think again, anything which hopefully will save you some time, enable you to be organised, which then enables you to be helpful when people are asking questions or trying to find things. again, that helps with building your standing in your area. So thinking more about the social media platforms now. LinkedIn is huge. It's got over 800 million members across the world, and it's just, as you see, it's very widely spread, and it's also very functional, as we'll see. So you can use LinkedIn to post updates about your career, giving detailed information about your work, or balancing detail with being concise. You can put in images, videos, presentations. You can add honours, awards. You can also link it with your ResearchGate and Google and other accounts. And you basically, ideally you update it regularly, like once a week or once a month. So we've got an example of a LinkedIn profile here. So you can do things like linking with various other activities that you've also undertaken. You can show some of your achievements and credentials. You can you can link it with co-authors if they're also connections on LinkedIn. You can show your publications. We have some honours and awards as well. So, LinkedIn is quite a nicely balanced way of showing what it is that you do and what you're able to, what your skills are. You can also put endorsements and get collect endorsements from other people as well. You can build up kind of lists of skills that other people accredit you with. So it's just it's a really nice way of showcasing yourself. And then we've got Facebook, which is the Facebook of Facebook. It's as we know, it's much more informal. It tends to be most useful for areas, disciplines that perhaps have a public-facing aspect. It's also pretty nice for things like timelines. That it'll remind you of timelines as much as anything. It's good for hashtags. It's good for milestones as well. So it can be a really useful alternative. It's also quite useful for linking with things like news stories as well. So here's a Facebook page of a university in Prague, and you can see they've got some little bits where you can do the liking and the messaging and so forth. They've got quite a handy search bar as well, where you can actually just go, do a specific search of that particular page. And then you've got Twitter, which apparently now a third of all scholars are active on Twitter. So which then means that there's a natural audience there potentially. You can set up lists. You can to actually income to be able to curate your own news, and you can follow other people's activities. You can find out about conferences and even participate in conferences through hashtags and things. So it's very, very quick. The messages are very, very short, and you can link to your work. So as we say with Twitter, then there's opportunities for using images, media, and having, because the entries are so short, it's easier to have a conversation. Because everybody has to be quite brief. You can amplify other people's messages and engage with them through retweets and likes and so forth. You can mention people to get them tagged into a conversation. You can include hashtags to, again, I suppose, make your message visible to people who are interested in a particular topic. And the analytics actually are pretty good on it. I think they've actually been upgraded fairly recently, so you actually can see quite a lot of what's going on, who's engaging, whether people are going past you or not. So thinking about promotions in Twitter, if you take the time to compose a thread of tweets, that convey your findings. You can then make sure that you're telling a story. And it's been shown that tweets that have got photos or videos do gain an average of 25 to 35% more retweets and more engagement. So that's worth knowing and worth thinking about how to incorporate. You should ideally make sure that, as this group has, that there's a link to your actual research. If you run out of space, you can use URL shorteners like bit.ly to make sure that there's room for that. So I think that, again, what you can actually get into a tweet. I mean, tweets have got a bit longer, and they are pretty good at enabling you to put in a mix of other media as well, links to videos, links to papers, and photographs. So in a recent Nature survey, there was 95% of respondents who were researchers in STM or humanities and social sciences said that they used some form of social media or scholarly collaboration network for professional purposes. It's 95%. However, there wasn't one that 95% were all on. ResearchGate actually came highest in that particular survey with 71%, followed by Google Scholar. So I think people were certainly very interested both in being able to use things frequently, but also be able to get high quality social engagement. So 50% of professional users also said that they accessed Facebook, which may or may not have been for professional reasons, but they were on there. So that's again something to think about. Whether again it's if you can do that balance between professional and leisure, if you like, Facebook could be the way to go to again build your own profile. So here's this quite interesting infographic about just a particular one article where they used social media, and it really took off. So it got retweeted by about 1,500 accounts, and with 1,651 tweets. So they reached over 2.5 million followers overall. It was picked up by several media outlets like the Times Higher Education Supplement. It had had 156,000 views. It was posted on Facebook and it featured in blogs. So if you like, once the initial engagement had happened, it just took off. It went viral, if you like. And I again, it's not something you can anticipate, or you can't make it happen necessarily, but only by trying do you have the possibility of it happening. I think is the lesson to come out of that. So thinking about some other digital strategies, other ways of maintaining or growing engagement. One of these is to set up a blog, which is time intensive, but also it's a very versatile way to promote your research. It might be that it's manageable at perhaps research group level rather than for an individual. So have a think about that, which would make the workload a lot less. So you can use your work to, you can use it to discuss your work in very much your own voice. So you can pitch it as, I suppose, general purpose or a specialist as you want. You can engage with any comments in the comment section. You can also comment or feedback about other things going on in your field. You can talk about what it's like to be an academic. If you like, just basically, build a character or a story using the blog. And here's some of the places you could go to actually set up a blog. We've got things like WordPress, Warwick Blogs, Tumblr, blogger.com. You've got Medium, which is an American online publishing platform, which has a range of both amateur and professional bloggers, and so it's quite an interesting place to go if you want to also pick up a general audience. Blogger.com enables multi-users to have timestamped entries as well, which could be quite interesting if you've got like a network that you want to work with, and perhaps you're in different parts of the country or of the globe. So you could consider creating a personal website, which show then your research interests and links to your articles. Really important to optimize it for Google search, as that's probably the way that people would find you. And here we've got a list of, basically showing some of the logos of some of the companies, which again you can think about using. So a personal website would again give you even more freedom than a professional blogging blogging point would. However, having visited a lot of these myself, very rarely are people updating them, even annually. I think perhaps after the first rush of enthusiasm, I think people tend to forget about them when other things happen. So I think this is only be something to do if if you really have something to say, and perhaps want to extend to think about different fields, or perhaps go into consulting. So make sure that you use the right keywords in any titles and abstracts of any articles when you're thinking about what's going to need to promote it. So whether you've got a press release or a conference proceeding or social media post, keywords are going to be things that are used by search engines and databases, and therefore by other people, researchers and interested readers. So you need to use the right keywords, and then you will hopefully then entice the right kind of reader to actually find your article, and they will want to engage with it because they already feel a certain amount of connection with it. We've got YouTube as well. It's increasingly seeing these being used, short animated videos based on research. This can be done by the researchers themselves. Sometimes there could be budget perhaps for something to be specifically professionally produced. You can also make sure that you put links to research papers. You can also link these to other things like your social media, your departmental website and things. So actually, I've got an example here. I hope that's going to work.
Our sun and the earth and all the planets and moons and dwarf planets and asteroids and comets, the solar system in short, formed about 4.6 billion years ago from a nebulous cloud of swirling gas and dust, which coalesced thanks to the irresistibly attractive force of gravity. However, this nebula started off more or less as a big shapeless blob. So how did our solar system end up with all the planets and their moons orbiting in a flat disk? I mean, we've all seen the planetary model of the atom, which is definitely wrong when applied to atoms, but it also kind of suggests that planets might revolve around the sun every which way. So is our solar system somehow special in its flatness, or is the planetary model of the atom doubly wrong? Well, our solar system definitely isn't alone. Many exoplanet star systems are flat, a lot of galaxies are flat, black hole accretion disks are flat, Saturn's rings are flat, etc. So why, when there's all of 3D space to fill, does the universe have this preference for flatness? The answer has to do with two things: collisions and the fact that we live in three dimensions. Bear with me. Anytime a bunch of objects held together by gravity are zooming and circling around, their individual paths are nearly impossible to predict, and yet collected together they have a single total amount that they spin about their center of mass. It may be hard to figure out exactly what direction that rotation is in, but the mathematics implies there must be some plane in which the cloud, taken as a whole, spins. Now, in two dimensions, a cloud of particles rotating in a plane is flat by definition. It's in two dimensions. But in three dimensions, even though the rotation of the cloud is given by one plane, particles can whiz around far up and down from that plane. As the particles bump into each other, all the up and down motion tends to cancel out, its energy lost in crashing and clumping. Yet the whole mass must continue spinning inexorably, because in our universe, the total amount of spinning remains isolated system always stays the same. So over time, through collisions and crashes, the cloud loses its lines and flattens into a spinning, roughly two-dimensional disk shape, like a solar system or spiral galaxy. However, in four spatial dimensions, the math works out such that there can be two separate and complementary planes of rotation, which is both really hard for our 3D thinking brains to picture, and also means there's no up and down direction in which particles lose energy by collisions. So a cloud of particles can continue being just that, a cloud. And thus, only in three dimensions can a nebula or infant galaxy start out not black and end up flat, which is definitely a good thing because we need all that matter to clump together in order for stars and planets to form, and for us, even those of us who think atoms look like this, to exist. This episode of Minute Physics is supported in part by Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, one of our subscribers on Subbable and also the nation's #1 ranked undergraduate aerospace engineering program. Embry-Riddle is based in Prescott, Arizona, and offers a 96% job placement rate 6 months after graduation, and we thank them for supporting Minute Physics. Also, this week we have a music video based on the soundtrack for this video, as well as a short film I made about what to do when it's really cold outside.
Right, hope you enjoyed that. So that's again some of the things you can do around YouTube. Whereas with Instagram, you can post short videos, infographics, do some visual storytelling. If you like, that's very much about engagement within a network rather than driving traffic to your research. So that might be something you do perhaps more alongside other social media than trying to engage directly with your research using Instagram. So thinking about research promotion more generally, if possible, think about trying to target the most eminent journals in your field for when you're actually trying to publish. Perhaps write a review article in your field and cite your own papers where relevant. If you can submit something like a video or graphical abstract for your article, that would be again a way of drawing attention. Animated figures are also very useful. So if you're interested, something like a graphic abstract is a sort of pictorial summary of your research article. So again, it would, in looking at a table of contents or an abstract, whatever, would be drawn to what you've done. A short podcast is also often a good way of introducing people to your work, particularly if you can engage as effectively as that group just did a minute ago. They actually put a huge amount of information into a very short but engaging video, and make you want to know more. Make sure that your contact information and affiliation are always correct. Make sure that you share links to a published paper. Often the publisher will actually be encouraging you to do that as a way for them to get more engagement for the journal and for your paper. If it's relevant, provide the papers as teaching references, materials for students. Make sure that your research profile is always kept up to date. And also special issues tend to have more views, more citations than just regular journal issues. This can be sometimes actually they end up being used as teaching vehicles as well. So that's can be one of the reasons why also they'll be mentioned in the editorial, which is nice and short, so people will have an introduction to your work from somebody else's editorial. So thinking about how to measure the impact, the tracking your online profile is as important as making the profile. There are various online tools that you can use to actually do that. If you regularly monitor, then it can be a way of checking whether you're being effective. You can perhaps change what you're doing and see if it has an effect. But it probably you should try and be reasonably consistent as to which tools again you're using, because if you flip from one to another, they might give you some slightly different story, and it might be more difficult to work out actually what's going on. So some of the ones that sit in this space are Impact Story, Altmetric, and Plum Analytics. So taking Impact Story to start off with, it's non-profit, open source, web-based tool, which takes data from the web on how often and who is research, basically looking at your research, how they're sharing it, saving it, and discussing it. It lets researchers find out more about metrics from both scholarly and popular media. Picture, ORCID, and so forth can be integrated. You can get an idea of who's benchmarking, recommending, or saving your work. You can import papers and other research outputs to build up a profile, and also highlight your key achievements. So here's a sample profile of an author on Impact Story. So it's got an overview of achievements, including Wikipedia mentions, percentage of content available as open access, and also the hot streak, which provides insight into the conversations happening around your research. And then each of your achievements is benchmarked against activity of other authors within the network. So you've got an idea of where your activity sits within the community. And then you've got the timeline on the right, which just summarises the number of online mentions or the likes that your works have received in the past year. And again, it's broken down by network. I don't know if you can see, but there's little icons showing Twitter, LinkedIn, WordPress, and so forth. So here's a snapshot of another researcher here in genomics, who's called Holly Beck. You can see that on the left-hand side of the page, there's a navigation bar, which it shows the scholarly genre that you want to explore, so articles, slide decks, software products, and so forth. Then you've got the green and blue badges, where you can click through to see underlying data that will show you the the scholarly and public impacts of the research. And then if you click on the title of the work, you can get an in-depth description of the article, including citations, abstracts, and summary metrics as well. So in short then, Altmetric helps researchers track who's interacting with their work and where they're based. It gathers data from various social media sources like Twitter, Facebook, blogs, mainstream media, and so forth, basically as soon as the work's published. It then provides a weighted count of all the mentions, and that's for this, again, it's for specific individual work, which is designed to indicate, I suppose, the amount of reach and attention that it has received. So you can benchmark your activities against other people, but by basically looking at your score in context when you're examining it. So it particularly can be useful for early career researchers to get a sense of what's actually happening with their work, because if you've published an article, it can take a while for it to accrue citations, but Altmetric can often provide a much more immediate sense of attention from the field. And provide, if you like, but it's also an external score. It's not me, the researcher, saying this is great. This is the field, and it's already responded to what I've written. There's already been an effect. So there's a screenshot here of a particular article showing that on the left-hand side there's the score. It's the famous Altmetric donut, which gives a summary of the attention for this piece of content. This particular article is in the top 5% of research outputs scored by Altmetrics. It's pretty good. And then the authors can click through and look at the various tabs to see details of mentions on any news outlets, blog posts, Twitter, Facebook. And you can also sign up to be alerted of any new mentions of your work. So the main body of the page displays demographics and geographical breakdown of people who have tweeted about your article. There's another tab there that provides the citation data from dimensions, and then there's a third tab which shows you Mendeley and site-like statistics as well. So it also shows the top 3 most recent citing publications. So that's sort of like a nice front page dashboard there for Altmetric. So Plum Analytics is a subscription-based institutional product which provides tools and services for institutions and their researchers to give them insight into the full range of impact. So you've got usage, which is tracking anyone who's reading the articles or otherwise using the research. So it's apparently this is the statistic that the researchers want to know about most after citations. So examples would be clicks, downloads, views, library holdings, video plays. And you've got captures, which indicate someone wants to come back to the work. So there can be bookmarks, code forks, favourites, readers and watchers. You've got mentions, which that's activities like, as you can see, news mentions, blog posts, and a way to tell that people are really deeply engaging with your work, as in they've actually, if like it's inspired them to produce some work of their own. You've got social media, which is tweets, Facebook likes, and so forth, that help measure sort of buzz or attention. And also can show whether or not the work has actually been properly promoted, because that will be that, if you like, the initial wave of response. And then you've got citations, which include traditional citations, such as that those from Scopus, say, but also there can be from citations from sort of clinical or policy indexes as well. So that's pretty comprehensive. Plum Analytics has got some advantages over some of the other platforms. It's got a really wide range of output that it tracks. It will track multiple versions of the same article, which is really helpful, given that we're living in this world now where you get things like preprints, you have perhaps you have an article behind a paywall, you might have an accepted manuscript in a repository and so forth. It categorizes the metrics really clearly so that you can actually, it will help you understand different things about the scholarly communication piece as well. And it also offers more sources of metrics than any other provider. So the dashboard lets you see what's going on with your research via the single interface. The screenshot shows here the institution's dashboard. It shows, you can see the usage, captures, mentions, social media and citation metrics for the particular article on the medicinal and poisonous plants in northeast Brazil. It'll let you drill down into total counts, so you'll be able to learn more about what people are saying about your work. There's an article summary at the bottom, which includes bibliographic information, highlights most recent tweets about the article, and you can click on the tweets tab. You can view the total number of tweets and retweets and also see that full listing. And you can also click on there's a Wikipedia mentions and also extracts of full entries. So, and it's also integrated into a number of Elsevier research products as well. So it's got that ease of use if your institution is already using something like Scopus or Pure. So, as you can see, other tools are available. That one has got that kind of quite nice rounded way of just working with your research cycles. So, in summary, yeah, discuss, talk to people, present at conferences, create your ORCID, and basically so seek to collaborate and partner with people. Write blogs, use academic networks, social networks, share your data, and write review articles, basically disseminate the work. And then track your progress. Use the tools to analyze what it is you've done, see if you need to adjust, see how you're tracking against other people in your field, and then adjust and repeat, and good luck. So, does anyone have a question? Let's have a quick look. I'm not seeing any, but there it is. Oh. Okay, I've got somebody asking about receiving a copy of the slides. So is that something that an Inago colleague can answer? I think it's generally the case that attendees will, at the very least, be provided with a copy of this presentation as a recording. I don't know about the slides. Freya, are you there?
We'll share the recording with them at the end of the session.
Yeah, okay. So I hope that answers your question, Margaret. I wonder if there are any other questions. But I guess, oh, thank you again. Thank you, Margaret. I think this is actually quite a well-timed webinar in terms of certainly the Northern Hemisphere academic cycle, because it's coming up. We're coming up to the end of the year, academic year, and there may well be an opportunity for someone to kind of catch their breath after a long year of long hard work and actually think about what they might like to do as they start the next cycle, and whether or not they can actually make a plan. So so hopefully that's helpful for people. I think it's also if you've got somebody, you know, like colleagues or mentors or anybody else you can discuss this kind of thing with, they may well have you know, examples that they can point to about, you know, things that have worked well in the past, or perhaps good warnings. Thanks again, Margaret. Yeah. So I think, you know, just considering this is you know, and perhaps talking to other people, perhaps finding out what their experiences have been and trying to do this, you might be able to avoid any pitfalls that other people have fallen into in the past. So I wonder if there's, I'm not feeling the pull of any other questions. I wonder if this might be the right point to say thank you from my part. And like I say, I hope it was useful. There's quite a lot packed in, but the slides are nice and comprehensive.
Hi, Fiona. We can end the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks.